and learning objectives of the members, making sure na during their stay as a member in our org, they have lots of opportunities to learn about Nocode and basically grow as a member. So let's talk a bit about the theme for the conference. So as you know, the theme is breaking barriers with Nocode. So that begs the question, so how does Nocode break barriers? So we're basically talking about the basic understanding of software development. So as you know, it's been tradition that software development requires a lot of technical skill. There is a certain cost involved in creating websites, in creating applications, and it also takes time to develop. And I also want to emphasize at the same time that because of all of these different barriers, there's also a lack of collaboration between non-technical people and technical people. So, for example, within an organization, you might have an IT team and a non-technical team, and if there's a certain barrier in communication which may lead to an inferior product or something. There is something that is barriers. Next. So this is where Nocode PH comes in. We are a registered nonprofit, and we are basically advocating for empowering Filipinos to become citizen developers. So what do we mean by that? We basically want to democratize software development for everyone. But we understand that it's difficult to make sure that everyone becomes a programmer. We understand that not everyone has the time and resources involved to learn Java, to learn Python, to learn all these different new tools, data science, data management, all of that. But we also understand that we live now in a future where every business needs to be online, where if you want to make an impact in the world, you can scale it up online, digitally. And we are aware that Filipinos, there's a great need for digitalization. So yeah, I won't read the mission edition anymore. You can see it on the website. So to boil it all down, our organization believes that Nocode makes ideas happen. And in the past couple of years, we've already had many events where we had challenges and hackathons. So you can see some of the works there from some of our own members who were able to do it in a few weeks or even within a couple of hours. They were able to make products like these, which is a really cool thing because a lot of our members don't even know how to program. Next. So part of what I did as director for L&D is I wanted to assess what kind of members do we have in our community. I feel like we are really varied. We have people in corporate, we have entrepreneurs, we have students, and all of this whole collective of people. It really takes a lot of effort to sort of understand all of the needs that each one of these members have. So we conducted a community survey to understand the needs. And here's some of what we found. So I asked the question, why did you join Nocode PH? So some people answered to pursue a different career path. Some are frustrated software developers who know how to automate, know how to make apps, but it's a hassle for them. Some people want to create web and mobile applications quickly. Some people want to make no-code app tools because it will be helpful in your field, whatever that may be. We also asked them what applications of no-code they're most interested in. So you can see here clearly that number one is creating mobile applications. Everyone wants to make an app. Another trending topic here: artificial intelligence, data science, workflow automation, and a few others such as internal tools, designing websites, database management, which, having talked to a lot of other members, are in line to what I've heard from their stories, their motivations in joining Nocode. We also asked, do you have anything you want to build in Nocode? So someone wrote confidential, so I don't know what they want to make. AI chatbot, e-commerce app, journaling app. So these are just some. It was really hard to pick my favorites, but I think this gives you a good idea of what people want to make, and I guess an assurance that with no code, it's certainly possible to make these apps. So yeah, just don't want to waste any more of your time. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. We have a lot of great speakers, and I hope you learn a lot. Take notes, have some coffee, drinks, and yeah, thanks.
Thank you, John. Thank you for that wonderful opening for our conference. So before we'll have our first speaker. So a couple of reminders. So since you have food in your table, so please clean as you go. And then yeah, just keep the place tidy. Again, I just want to thank Microsoft for this venue, for this wonderful venue. Actually, it is one of the better venues I've been with. Right, so I'm not sure about you guys. So also, we will have a Q&A later. So just to discuss the format, we will have 3 speakers. The Q&A will come much later. So we have a QR code there at the center of the table for Slido. But let me check. So I'll give you a code. So you go to sli.do, so Slido, and the code is so sli.do. So the code is 3243258. Okay, or scan the or QR code. So again, the code is 3243258. Alright. So I'm gonna activate a question there, which you should be looking at, and it would ask, what are you looking forward to this event? I'm going to show you quickly. SLI.do. Whoa. What are you looking forward to this event? So I'm gonna give you like 2-3 minutes for it. Let's see. What are your motivations, right, in going to this event? Right, Snapbar features clients. Nice. Snapbar. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Snapbar. I didn't expect that. It's got NCO, new insights, the future of lowcode. Nice. Keep them coming. I'm reading with lowcode. So I'm not sure if you can scan the QR code from the projector, but if you can, please do so. Sino gusto mag-tumbling? Malay nyo, pag nag-tumbling kayo, may t-shirt kayo mamaya. Alright, so yeah, thank you for giving your expectations and insights coming in to this event. So, okay, there are more people, so please go ahead, submit your best practices, community, friends. Okay. So, I apologize for those who are typing. I'm gonna switch over to a different question now. Oh wait, freebies, of course. Who doesn't want freebies? Alright, so I'm gonna activate a new one. So this is for the questions. So in the same web page, so we're gonna see later what are your questions. So you can drop your questions anytime you want on Slido. So while the speakers are doing their talk, or while you're eating, while you're doing networking, you can drop your questions anytime. I'm gonna let Slido do its own thing. I'm gonna leave it open until later. So yeah, do you have any questions? So Q&A towards the end of the event. So the speakers won't accommodate any questions yet after they speak. Okay? Right? Any concerns or questions? Okay, let's move ahead to our first speaker. So yeah, moving on to our first speaker, funny story. I've only known him for like 2 months, or a couple of weeks. So yeah, he's been active on the startup community, and from my knowledge, he has his second company, right? It's it's his second company, and he's gonna introduce it later on how it works. And yeah, and let's welcome everyone, Cardenas.
All right. Hi everyone. Good afternoon. So once again, my name is Cardenas. I am the CEO and co-founder of Safe. Sorry, I'm just a bit nervous. And I'm actually used to like 5-minute pitches as a founder, but I will do my best to make this a bit longer. So right now, I prepared a short talk about utilizing Nocode. And utilizing Nocode for what? So utilizing it to quickly validate, iterate, and develop a solution for a real-world problem. Alright, so the reason why I chose this topic is because this is basically what made Safe possible. So before we get started, just a few important reminders. No code will help us become faster. Faster in a way of product development, idea validation, MVP iteration, and fundraising. But it will never ever replace solving real problem, working with users to improve your MVP, and to also have investor relations skills. So these are two separate skill sets, and I just want to make sure that what you will see here, you won't be confused with these two things. So so this is me. I'm a high school graduate turned tech founder. So the reason I became a tech founder is because in 2018, I was a customer of this buy now pay later company. And I was filling up the stick paper forms just to apply for a laptop loan. And then, of course, not to mention their questionable collection practices. This really set something within me that forced me to become a startup founder. You'll learn more about this later on. So I was the CEO and co-founder of Jungle. It was a $1 million BNPL, buy now pay later fintech startup based in Singapore with operations here in the Philippines. After 4 years of operations, we were acquired by a Singaporean banking group for a 10-figure amount. So after this, I actually became a sign rapper and rapper music. For some reason, I just tried rapping with no other no other experience.
Sample,
Yes.
sample.
And then sample, no. Sorry. Hi, Tia. No, just kidding. Yeah, so after enjoying the fruits of my labor from Jungle, I actually bought a house. And I was searching on Facebook Marketplace for a beautiful dining setting, right? And then I got scammed for the first time in my life. I got scammed, and I cannot believe it. It's like, oh man. So another trigger for me, within me, as a founder, that I need to solve this. I promised myself I'll never go back to being a founder again. All of the hectic, Sir Francis knows this. All of this pressure, all of this stress. But there was a calling in here. That's why I'm here in front of you guys. So the topic of today's talk is all about simply sharing my journey with Jungle, which is basically a hardcore code-based journey, and also my journey currently with Safe, which is heavily no code. All right, and then we'll do a side-by-side comparison on how fast we developed these two companies, from idea to fundraising and then to exit. All right, so this might be quick, so I'll try to make it longer. So Jungle is buy now pay later, like I mentioned, and it's heavily based on code. The problem, though, that we are solving is this, like I mentioned earlier. So I don't want to mention names, but you already know who these guys are. So I was a customer of these guys, and I was filling up thick paper forms. And this is the idea that I had in mind. An app that you can simply just scan anything, QR code, the actual product, and then you can definitely buy it now and pay us later for 3, 6, or 12 months. Now what made us different is this little circle here. This is our credit line. So we acted as a credit card, basically. So instead of applying and going through this process each and every time you make an application, you simply just maintain this, and your available credit line actually increases every time you prove your credit worthiness. So that was basically the idea. And the problem that I experienced personally back in 2018 when the Jungle idea was born is that I am not a technical founder. I don't know shit about programming, right? And that was a huge problem in 2018 because I'm not sure if there's already some no-code tools. I'm really not sure, but for me, my main focus is to find the solution, which is to look for a technical co-founder, raise money, and build the app idea that I showed you earlier. And what I did is I went first, obviously here in the Philippines, and I went to different alternatives. So number one, the only way for me to communicate my idea to potential co-founders and investors is through pitch deck. And it's like slides after slide of the workflow of the potential Jungle app. And that didn't work, obviously. So I tried the next best approach, which is to do hi-fi mockups. So I used hi-fi mockup tools, and I went to Thailand to actually pitch and represent the Philippines for Texas 2019. But I mean, it's just all prestige and glory. But to be perfectly honest, I didn't. I came back home with nothing, no co-founder and no funding, which is my my two goals in order for me to make the Jungle idea a reality. And then I tried software development agencies, and there's like a huge mismatch between the startup culture and mentality in the typical software development agencies. So I tried 3 different software development agencies and it simply didn't work. So that is basically what happened with Jungle. So right now, I just want to highlight a few things about our timeline. So December of 2018 is when the idea of Jungle was born. And it took me several months before I was able to meet my technical co-founder in Singapore after being able to be accepted in Enter Singapore startup program. So after a month, basically my co-founder built the MVP of Jungle using different code-based tools. And it took us 2 months to raise our first VC round, which is over 6 million pesos in Singapore. And now, after 4 years of operation, we actually launched the same day President Rodrigo Duterte announced the strict lockdown. And Jungle was basically focused on gadget loans, shopping loans, all of this stuff that we actually don't need during the pandemic. So what we did just to survive is we partnered with one of the leading grocery chains and drugstore chains here in the Philippines to introduce the first grocery now pay later and medicine now pay later. So basically that cleverness made us survive for 4 years. And to be perfectly honest, in the past 3 to 4 years of the company, we were actually struggling. And just to be perfectly honest, the company was struggling simply because from a 95% collection rate, we went down to 45. This is because of the effect of the pandemic, and we struggled to raise our succeeding funding round. But luckily, we got acquired still, a nice amount, and I still own 60% before that, so it's a huge payout for me, but I mean, yeah, so again, I decided not to go back. So now let's discuss my current company. So Safe is it is an escrow as a payment app. So what we do is Safe is basically a middleman. So imagine yourself buying something on Facebook Marketplace. You don't know the seller. He's basically a stranger. Would you really pay upfront or not? I don't think so. That's what I did. That's the mistake that I did. I paid upfront. So basically, Safe acts as a middleman. You as a buyer deposits your payment directly to your Safe account via Safe app. And once you mark the order complete as a buyer, instantly release the payment to the seller. On the seller side, our value proposition is that you don't need to wait for days or weeks to actually receive your income. It will be sent to you instantly. Now, what is the difference between Safe and cash on delivery? Okay, so imagine this. You bought something, cash on delivery, you received the package. What do you do next? You paid for something you haven't seen or tested yet. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, one of the breeding grounds of scammers right now, COD. And so the difference with Safe is that you can actually test it first if you're happy, and then you may release the thing. So that is the problem that we are solving with Safe. So this is currently the Safe app. This is built on Bubble. The next iteration, we are going to release our iOS and Android mobile apps using Flutterflow. So, yeah, so May 2nd of this year, the Safe idea was born because on May 1st, I got scammed. Alright? So that's the idea. Now, I have the same problem. I'm still not a technical co-founder, right? But right now, the solution actually changed after 4 or 5 years. Because I now have no-code solutions or tools on my disposal. So like I mentioned, the initial MVP of Safe, I was actually built using Bubble and then Flutterflow, and we designed it on Figma. So let's try to see how fast we did from ideation to fundraising for Safe. May 2, idea was born. May 3, I started learning Bubble. I have no idea how to use it, but I was able to learn it for actually 1 day. And the next 2 days, I developed I developed Safe Bio Bubble, and I was able to launch it on May 6th. It took me 4 days, 4 to 5 days from ideation to actual launch. And then I used May 6th to 25th to actually work with our potential users. Surprisingly, there was a lot of users who are actually willing to pay for this service. I'm not pitching. This is the truth. Alright. And then, the combination of how fast we implemented the idea and executed the idea enabled us to raise over 3 million pesos of pre-seed round from Founders Launchpad. So this is how fast you could go if you utilize Nocode and you also prove yourself as a founder. That's why I had this important reminder. You need to find a solution, a big problem for the solution that you already have. And just a quick side-by-side comparison. So again, code-based versus no-code for my previous startup Jungle and my current startup Safe. Speed to market for Jungle took me 8 months. 8 freaking months. And most of this month is just me going around the globe just trying to find a co-founder. I mean, I can definitely find a co-founder here, a technical one, but for some reason I wasn't able to. But for Safe, it took me 3 days. 3 days from ideation, learning how to use Bubble, and then also the launch itself. Now from a minimum viable product to a minimum marketable product, it took Jungle over a year. This is over a year because whatever feedback we received from users for Jungle, it took us a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of brainstorming ideas to implement those feedback that came from our users. But for Safe, since we don't need to hire a lot of people, train a lot of people, it's just me and my co-founder. It only took me and my co-founder 2 months from MVP to MVP. For fundraising, for Jungle, it took me 10 months because the bottleneck basically is all about the development because it's heavily on code-based. But for Safe, it only took me 24 days to raise the first 3 million pesos. So basically, this is the gist of my talk. All I wanted to say to you guys is that if you utilize no-code well, you'll be able to save a lot of time. And if you combine it with a problem, a real-world problem that a lot of users are having, it can definitely change your lives. So yeah, so that is me, and it's utilizing no-code. And just to help me with my traction, just kidding. No, I'm giving you free Safe access for 6 months. We typically charge 3.5% per transaction. So if you were going to buy something on Facebook Marketplace, Carousel, and other unsafe e-commerce platforms, use Safe. Now please use NoCode PH. All of the profit that we're going to generate from this, we will donate it to the NoCode organization. Once again, thank you so much for having me.
Alright, thanks for that, Al, for that inspiring talk. So what actually caught my eye in Al's presentation earlier was the difference of the MVP to MMP. So I think Jungle was 8 months, right? And Safe was 24 days. So imagine the value proposition of using no-code in your startup. And as I remember, Al, you mentioned, how many are in the team again?
Just 2.
Just 2. Imagine. So the cost saving, the efficiency, right? And you're already, Al is getting rich by the minute now. So, right, and I just want to touch back to what Dion said earlier, that no-code is making things happen, and it obviously did. So, again, another round of applause for our success. And please, again, the referral code for the Safe Midnight app are there. So please sign up because we're gonna get some money from them. Again, we're just a reminder, we're a non-profit organization, so yeah, we can we'll get all the help we can get, right? So, right. So, moving on to our, or wait, before we move on to our next speaker, I would, if you could direct your attention to the black cartolina on that side. So we're gonna have like a feedback wall. So later, if you have some time, we have sticky notes and markers there. We'd love to hear from you. These are real-time feedback. We're gonna send you some feedback forms later, but we're gonna appreciate if you can do some real-time feedback later, probably during the networking, right? So, all right, and on to our next speaker. So our next speaker is actually one of the organizers of Lowcode PH, and we owe it to him for this very beautiful venue. And he's one of the, say, champions of Microsoft here in the Philippines. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Jase.
Good afternoon again. I'm Jase Tiojanco. I'm from Microsoft Philippines. Currently, I'm the account executive for critical infrastructure in Microsoft Philippines, but I also hold the position of the technology strategist for public safety and justice. So, my daily life would include working with the likes of our government agencies such as the PWH, DOTR. I also handle the Supreme Court, Department of Justice, DND. So, that's me. Prior to joining Microsoft, I used to be with Oracle Philippines. I was the principal solution engineer for data management and analytics. Prior to that, I was with IBM for 7 years as the data and analytics platform architect. Right? So it's totally different from what I'll be talking about this afternoon. Right? So as Graham mentioned earlier, I'm also part of Nocode Philippines. So I truly believe in empowering every individual and every person on the planet to do more, right? And it's breaking barriers, not just, also in the enterprise. So do more with less. We want to democratize application innovation with no-code and low-code, right? Just a preview of what we have done in Microsoft, right? Using the Power Platform. So one of our key wins, our key accounts, right, is Pepsi. So G&J Pepsi is one of those Pepsi units which leverage low code and no code, which is our platform, right, the Power Platform, to introduce innovation in their field personnel. So before tapping Microsoft, they were actually faced with a huge backlog of applications, right? So it spans different aspects in the field service space, right? Some of them would be managing refrigeration, some of them would be knowing where they park their trucks, some of them would be adjusting, shelves, for example, in their displays. So it really spanned different concerns. But using no code, using Power Platform, Power Apps, and Power Automate, they were able to realize $500,000 worth of savings in terms of application development, right? And the beautiful thing about this is that they did not use coding, hence no code. They simply empowered the personnel to come up with ideas through a design thinking session. What are the things that we face every day, which are very pressing, right? That we can easily find a solution to. They did not tap IT, they tapped field personnel on the ground, asking them what's the most pressing issues. And this is the beautiful thing about no-code and low-code. You can actually empower people to innovate, to think of ideas, right? And to come up with applications. So before I delve into pitching stuff like a salesperson, let's start first with some ideas, right? So I think some of these you already know, but some of the statistics that I really look into are these three pillars. There's a surging digital demand at the moment. They say that 750 million more applications will be developed now versus in the past 40 years. The difficult thing is that there's so much applications to be developed, but there's so little talent to develop these applications. Right? So there's a developer shortfall. And there's an opportunity for us to address these needs using technologies such as, or paradigms such as lowcode and no-code. Right? So for us, the future is to accelerate innovation with no code to do less, right? And if you notice in the visuals, we don't just focus on those who are very technical. We actually start with those who are on the ground, who has potential to make applications, but perhaps currently they're hampered by the fact that, hey, I'm not an IT graduate. Hey, I don't know how to do Python. I don't know how to do Java or whatever. But I know how to do Excel. I know how to use SharePoint. Right? There are applications which I'm familiar with. How do I transform it to code? So later on, we'll actually see something to that effect. I'll show a very quick demo of what we can do using no code, right? So what is a successful low-code or no-code strategy? These three areas. Number one is focus. If you have very pressing, high-impact applications that you need to develop from the ground up, by all means, leverage your IT resources for those. But we want to streamline our approach when it comes to application innovation. So we want to include everyone. As I mentioned, field personnel. I'll give you a very nice example in the public safety space. So one of my favorite stories to share is, wala akong NDA, so okay lang po. One of my favorite stories to share is actually with the Filipino. Right? Mga sundalo. They're the last set of people you'd actually think would dive into innovation. Right? Sa kanila, masaya na sila sa pen and paper eh. Most of the time. But they had a pressing issue. They did not know how to streamline the application process for soldiers, for the army. They have this unit called the APMC, Army Personnel Management Center. They're in charge of enlisting new people in the Philippine Army. So how was the process? If you're from somewhere else, you have to go to a certain center, you have to apply, you have to submit your papers, and it was a very tedious process. And all of these papers are physical. So someone else in the APMC would have to, write them, would have to type them or encode them in whatever way. And the bright minds in the APMC thought, I can automate that. I can simplify that. And they talked to us, talked to Microsoft, how can we do it? And then you know what? We presented this specifically. Their ask was very simple. Can you give us a trial? That's their only ask after we presented the Power Platform in a workshop. You know what? During that week, they were playing around with the Power Platform. They asked us for a trial account for it, right? And you know what? Within that week, they were just asking us for guidance. The following week, they asked us for a meeting. They presented their application. They were able to automate the application process. For us, it seems very trivial, right? It's just a form. But you know what they did? They automated that. They used Power Platform to create the form. They used Power Automate to understand. They used Power Automate to understand where should I route this application. They used Power BI to see and visualize where are my applications coming from. What's the demographic of my applications? And for the Army Personnel Management Center, it was a very impactful solution already. Again, for us, it's trivial. But for them, that was game-changing, right? And this is what I love about no-code and no-code. We empower everyone. Sundalo nakapag-innovate. What more, not that I'm with them. But what more, if you're very much into the business that you're doing, you're an accountant, you're an HR practitioner, you're in corporate social service, right? I mean, the possibilities are pretty much endless, right? So, sorry, if you took note of the visual I was presenting earlier, velocity was also the key. Isang linggo nakagawa sila ng application. Actually, even less. They were already playing with the prototype in a few days, right? But for them to come up with the application, the automation, the presentation in a week, props to the army, right? It really changed my perspective of them as well. I mean, it sounds very bad, but you know, if you just empower everyone with the right set of tools, they would deliver. And that's our thrust in Nocode Philippines, right? We really want to empower everyone. And again, also in the enterprise. And you know what? I mean, sige, well, this is starting. Some other instances where we deployed the Power Platform, complaints management. So, hindi na ako magbabanggit. Pero, complaints management. This is an infrastructure that we often use as Filipinos, especially when we like to travel. Hindi ka nagbanggit ng pangalan. So, kapag may sira sa CR, pwede mo i-complain yun. But there's so many channels for you to complain in. You can do text, you can do yung parang screen na nilalagay nila, there's a form, you can email, you can even call. So there are multiple channels and they're having difficulty tracking all of these complaints, right? So what they did, they created this portal using Power Apps to make it easier for them to manage all of these complaints coming in. Whether they're coming from, you know, from chat, from calls, from text, or wherever, or social even. So they have that capacity to aggregate all of these complaints into one single platform. Their personnel in charge of managing these complaints, they can see the end-to-end process. Where was the inception of this complaint? Who is in charge of it? Oy, may butas ang kisame. Sino may kasalanan yan? Sino dapat ang mananagot? They can easily track na kanino na yung bola. And what resolution has been applied. So for them, complaints management became a much easier process because of you know, no code and low code, right? And that's our thrust, right? To enable these kinds of transformation without having to require so much time in developing. Dahil hindi pa rin siya nagka-present. I'll just give you an overview of what the Power Platform is. So Power Platform is Microsoft's enterprise-grade low-code and no-code platform. So it is comprised of 5 different capabilities or solutions. It's offered as a solution as a service. Right? So what's included in the Power Platform? I've already mentioned Power Apps. So this is rapid application development. We already have templates available for you to deploy. But for example, if you have ideas that you want to bring to life, later on, ay papakita ko pag bumuha siya. So I'll give you an example of how I do it, right? And how other companies are also doing it. So that's Power Apps. The other one is Power Automate. So if you have a process, if you're familiar with robotic process automation, you don't have to code anymore. You know what? It's a matter of recording your steps. Click, click, click. It will record it for you, and it will give you a script already for automation. So for example, ano ba yung karaniwang ino-automate natin? You have a website, you have fields, you need to copy. If you're let's say in customer service, you have to copy the user ID, the address, for example, the nature of the complaint, you have to copy it somewhere else. You can automate that using Power Automate. Something that's very simple. But something that's also complex, you can also automate. If you need to connect to your enterprise applications, if you're in the enterprise, you probably have SAP, you probably have Dynamics, you probably have Salesforce. If you need to get information from those sources, you can also do so using Power Automate. There can be triggers as well. For example, if a data point that comes in that exceeds a certain threshold, kunwari, pumasok dun sa Power Automate, you have sensors, you're trying to manage refrigeration. If it goes above a certain limit or threshold, pwede siya mag-trigger ng script, right, for automation. it could probably notify the person in charge of, the plan, diba? Tapos if there's no resolution done in, let's say, 30 minutes, it would escalate that request, right? So that's the idea of it in Power Automate. Another very popular use case or product at the moment is Power Virtual Agents. So ano ba yun? Chatbot. But it's AI powered. Ngayon, we throw AI around. The word AI around very loosely. But it's not just, looking into a preset set of answers to questions, but it learns from the data that you feed into it. So it has natural language processing as well to understand better what are the questions being asked by our customers, right? Can be customers, can be our internal stakeholders, right? It also leverages, the recent innovations in Microsoft's capabilities, such as OpenAI and ChatGPT. So you can also bake that into your conversations using Power Virtual Agents. And it's not just about answering questions. You can also trigger, for example, a Power Automate script. Yung nabanggit ko kanina, there's a problem with refrigeration, right? It can be coursed through Power Virtual Agents. One of your field personnel logs that complaint. There's something wrong with the refrigerator at the moment. Power Virtual Agents can trigger that process for you, right? Probably the most popular one is Power BI. Right? Taas ang kamay, sino dito ang gumamit na ng Power BI? So, yung mga ilan, di ba? So Power BI is our data visualization platform. Right? So if you're familiar with the likes of Cognos, with the likes of Tableau, that's our version of data visualization. But it goes beyond that. The thing with Microsoft's Power Platform is that we have more than 800 connectors available. And we're very much open for data. Hindi ibig sabihin na hindi Microsoft yung data source mo, hindi namin tatanggapin. Right? And later on, again, pag mag-cooperate na yun, I'll give you some examples of what we can do using no-code and low-code from Microsoft's perspective. But if you have your data, be it, again, in Salesforce, in SAP, in Oracle, right? If you have your data in CSVs, if you have your data in, let's say, Google Sheets even, right? We welcome that. And we can visualize the information for you. And for some people, again, isipin nila, ano gagawin ko sa data na? But if you're a data analyst, you want to slice and dice and drill down dun sa data mo. If you're into analytics even, if you want to include like predictive capabilities, for example, forecasting, you can already do that in Power BI. If you want to introduce your own calculations and computations, if you want to do alerts even, you can also do that in Power BI. If you remember the visual I showed earlier regarding the spectrum of users, these components of the Power Platform can serve those different kinds of personalities. If you're a regular analyst, you can be at the far left, right? You can just drop your data set, visualize it, and be happy and share it, right? But if you're the developer, you want to create alerts and triggers, you want to connect to your data sources, you can also do that. If you want to introduce like custom Python code, for example, for machine learning, you can also do that. So I said 5, I've only mentioned 4. If you're into website development, we also have what we call Power Pages. So if you're familiar with no-code solutions for developing websites, such as Webflow, it's somewhat similar. But you know what that ties all of these components together, the 5 components I mentioned, is Dataverse. So Dataverse it's based on Azure SQL, but it essentially ties all of these. So your data is secured in an enterprise-grade platform. It's hosted in Azure. You have telemetry even. So, for example, some of the concerns of enterprises when it comes to deploying no-code solutions is that, hey, how will I track all of the usage, or how will I track all of the applications being deployed in my enterprise? So the beauty of having this in Power Platform is that you have usage telemetry. You can also control the number of, the authentications and authorizations that you have, right? We have Azure AD. So again, that's what we're introducing now in the enterprise. Right? Powerful ng Power Platform, pati power ng projector kinuha. Anyway, so again, just to recap, right? The 5 primary components of the Power Platform. We have the Power Apps. We have Power Automate for robotic process automation, process flows. We have Power Virtual Agents for chatbots and conversational agents, Power Pages for creating engaging web pages, and then Power BI for data exploration. I think among the five, as I mentioned, Power BI is the most well-known. It's actually free for the desktop version. You can easily download it. If you want to try Power Apps, you can also sign up for it as long as you have a work or a school account, right? So, just continuing with my presentation. I'll try to make it quick because I know the difficulty earlier ate up a lot of my time. But let's go through this one quickly, okay? So, again, this is just an example of how Power Apps works. This is not an in-depth example, but when you open your Power Apps, you have different ways of creating applications. You have templates. At the same time, if you have Excel sheets, you want to create an inventory app, for example, it can have the information in your Excel sheet, and automatically it will give you an application, be it in a tablet format, a mobile format, or even a web format, right? Later on, I'll show you one of my favorite ways of creating applications, especially for forms, right? And again, you have multiple ways of connecting data here. If you want to use Dataverse, which is the Power Platform's own data platform, managed data platform based on Azure SQL, you can also connect to your own. As I mentioned, if you have Google Sheets, if you have OneDrive, if you have enterprise applications available, if you have databases, be it MySQL, Postgre, or whatever, you can also connect to that. So this is just an example of Power Automate. There's so many different scenarios that you can think of for this one. Different triggers as well. It can be as simple as a right click, a left click, right? But it can also be a new email coming, right? If there's a new email that comes, you can actually use AI to scan the contents of the email. Is it a request? What kind of request is it? And then it can trigger a process already for you. And this is all done in no-code or low-code, right? It's a matter of configuring what the next actions would be like, right? So this one, it's a bit too small, but here it's asking the automation feature to create a file when a new email arrives, right? It will download the attachment, create a new folder, and put that file there, right? And based on the contents, it can trigger another process flow, again, depending on the nature of the application you are using, or you are creating. This one is for Power Virtual Agents. You can create conversations, the conversational flow even. So for example, here, it has a list of possible routes for a certain conversation. So for example, if you're already satisfied with the answer to your query, it would end with a survey. Or if you're not yet satisfied, it can actually trigger an actual agent, right? So if you have that contact center platform, it can pass on to a real agent for you, right? So there are many ways to customize this. But again, it's a very visual approach when it comes to creating chatbots. Okay, so I'm going through these very quickly. Again, if you're interested, feel free to reach out. I'm available on LinkedIn as well. This one is for Power Pages. If you want to create enterprise websites, you can also use Power Pages. The good thing about this one is the database supporting your website is already Dataverse. Right? So if you want to use all of your interactions, all of the information being coursed through your website in, let's say, Power BI or in a different Power App, right? You can also do that. And then again, Power BI, it's a visualization platform, but it's more than just visualization. It has predicted capabilities already. You can add your own custom code for it, for AI, for example, right? It can also translate your visuals into something more conversational. So if you want a summary, for example, of what's being shown in front of you, you can do that as well. Similar to what's being shown here, right? So I really don't want to go through the slides anymore. I mean, I've eaten a lot of time already with these information. So what I'd like to do is actually show you how I create a simple form, right? So let's pretend I'm the organizer for this, for the volunteer team of Nocode Philippines. So I may have an image such as this one, right? Again, for a developer, it seems very trivial. But if I'm the person in charge of onboarding volunteers, I can conceptualize my application. I can draw it on a piece of paper. This is what I want my application form to look like, right? You have your name, your email, your mobile, your birthday, your age, occupation, employer, and why you should be the next top button, right? And now I want to create an application using this one. So what I can do using Power Apps is this, right? So I hope this one cooperates. So I want to create, it'll have a look at, you know what, this is so convenient, sorry. I have a version of the screen here, so I don't have to keep on looking there. Anyway, here you can see that you have different ways of creating applications, right? You can create them from a black app, from Dataverse, from SharePoint. You can even upload from Figma. You have different templates available already, right? So these are just ideas, right? You have fundraiser events, asset checkouts. I think help desk would be very helpful. Hence help budget tracker. So you have these available. But the one I showed you earlier is what about creating an application out of an image, right? We can do that. So for example, volunteer form. Volunteer. And I want to upload my own image. So I can choose a file. And then choose a picture. So you saw the picture earlier, right? So just for transparency's sake, I wrote it down just a while ago. So my worry is that the reflections on the whiteboard will affect the quality of the output. But the idea here is, I already have that form for volunteers. And you can see here, it recognized the form. It highlighted certain things. For example, you know, this one is a text table. This one is input. This one is a date picker. And this one is a button, right? So now, given that it wasn't able to accurately identify the fields, I, as a developer or citizen developer, could easily rectify that, right? For example, this one. I can delete the tag and then extend this one because this is one old tag, sorry. There you go. It's a text table. And then there are certain areas, for example, the email. The email was not identified, probably because I draw lines like a nursing student. So now it's a text input, right? So here, there's a drop down, which I drew for the age, but it was identified as a button. So now, I can change that into a drop down, which is somewhere down here. Right? There you go. Occupation and employer were categorized as one rather, and I can just edit that one. And then I can identify this as another field. Sorry it's taking so long. Let's get the employer bit, for example. Let's go next. And the thing here is that it would already create the Dataverse table for you after. So for example, here I skip the employer. You can connect to a Dataverse table or create one, right? So next. So I can create a new table. Next. So see, even if you're not a technical person, it already created the first pass of your interface. It already created the table for you. Now it's a matter of applying the logic for your application form, right? So again,
See, you already have your table in Dataverse, and you can start creating that initial application. Later on, what you would see is a very simple interface which you still have to rearrange. But again, the idea here is that it captures the idea, it captures the contents of a form. You draw it on a paper, you draw it in a whiteboard. Heck, you can draw it on manila paper. As long as you upload the image, you already have a, an inspiration for what you want to see in that application, then it will give you that application. So again, if you want to try it out, you can go to powerplatform.com or powerapps.com and then sign up for a trial account. It's good for 30 days. You can play around with it. See? So now you can just rearrange this one. So, as I mentioned, it's not perfect, right? But you already have the basics of your form, right? So the fields are already there, the labels are already there. It's a matter of fixing it, right? But what if I have an Excel file, for example, which I want to use as an inventory, right? You can also do that. So this is just an example. I can stop at this one. I'm sorry, it doesn't just stop there, right? So you can create a new screen, right? So, of course, you have a form. Now what do you want to do with the form? So do you want to create a list? Do you want to create a tutorial? A meeting, for example, a page, right? For example, you want to schedule an interview, you can do that meeting page. So let's see. The other one is I can upload an Excel file. For example, I have an Excel file from my device. I can select that Excel file. If I can find it. So anyway, what it's doing now is that based on the Excel file, it's getting all the information, it's creating that Dataverse table as well for you, based on the contents. So now you can start creating the application. You can even have a gallery, right, for this one. And you know what? We've taken this capability a step further. So if you've been following developments in OpenAI and ChatGPT, Microsoft has been rolling out these technologies and its applications. So one of the things that we have introduced recently is Copilot, right? So we have Copilot for the Power Platform as well. Right? So later on, I'll show you some slides for it. I don't have a working environment for it right now, but I would like to give you an idea, right, of how it works. So I like using this one whenever I like to do inventory kinds of applications. Again, you can deploy it on a tablet, on a PC, or on a mobile phone. And it's very fast, right? So all of those information is translated into an application, right? So a while ago you saw that we have a list, we have records available for us. Yeah. So what it did is that it created that inventory system for us. You have a list of all your entries, you have an overview of the information, and then you have the full information to your right panel, right? Again, I did not do anything about it. I just imported my Excel application. And then you can try it out by playing it. I hope it does not fail on me. But you can add a new record. You'll be presented with a screen, and it will append your database already with the additional information that you're putting in. How many clicks did I do? A few, right? I didn't even code at all, hence no code, right? And we have different views available. If you want to see it on the phone, you can change that view, right? For example, for the iPhone 12, 13, 14, right? For developing on mobile, it's very easy. You can already see how it would potentially look like. If it's a tablet, you can also do that. And then I think I would like to show Power BI as well. Sorry, just let me know if I'm exceeding my time. I have this tendency to share a lot because I like talking. The reason why I'm in sales, I used to be a developer and they told me, you're too talkative for a developer. Why don't you try sales? So for example, I'm just selecting city, country, and again, I'm not doing anything. I'm just clicking all of these, data points. It's the same employee data point that I used in the sample application earlier. And now I have these pieces of information, right? City, Seattle, United States, but it's not as valuable. So what I can do, I can probably put the annual salary, I guess, if they want to see the average. Global sizes. For the annual salary, the larger it is, the higher the annual salary is. But that's the sum. If I want to change it to, let's say, the average, again, just a matter of clicking, it changed, right? How many clicks did I do? Less than 10. And I see this visual already. Again, if you're a hardcore data scientist, you're like, meh, doesn't give me much insight. But if you're like someone who's just trying to start getting insights from the data that you have, this is going to be very valuable. And if I want to see, let's say, what's the median age for each and every city that I have, I can also do that, right? So, for example, I want to see city age. I want to see the median age, for example. Age by city, by country, right? So what it did for me is that in a matter of 3 clicks, it was able to show me, well, not yet. I'll add 1 more click, so 4 clicks. What's the average age, for example, of my employees based on city, categorized by country? So now I know that all of these orange ones are from the United States, the ones in purple are from China, the ones in blue are from Brazil, right? Again, it seems very trivial for us, but for those who are not as technical, this is game-changing, right? And again, no code. So, because I've been eating up a lot of time, let me finish it off by showing you what Copilot looks like, right? If my PowerPoint cooperates.
Hindi ako wala rin naman sa Pwede mo kung mabuto ko na okay ka na.
So what is the Copilot feature in Power Apps? So Copilot is available in PowerPoint, in Word, even in our security stack it's available, but it's also available in Power Apps. So if you're thinking, don't tell me it will create an application based on an idea that I have and chat it. Yes, it does. That's what it does. So you have an idea for an application, it would actually give you at least a shell, right? A start for your application. So it uses natural language processing. So for example here, you go to your Power Apps home screen and then you enter your idea of an application. And then Copilot will even create a Dataverse table and a Canvas app for you, right? So for example, I'm in the hotel business, I want to do hotel housekeeping. So I say hotel housekeeping. It gives me a table with the room number, the room type, the status of that room, has it been cleaned, for example? When was it cleaned? And then when was it cleaned? Sorry, what time was it cleaned? When was it? Or what date was it cleaned, right? And then it goes beyond that. Again, it's conversation. Wait, why is it not presented here? Oh, there we go. So it's just typing hotel housekeeping. I think it already continued or replayed, right? And then you can ask for suggestions from it. If you want to add tables or columns, right? For example, it doesn't say who cleaned a certain room. Then you can also ask Copilot to add additional columns for you. For example, here, when did the person start cleaning the room and when did the cleaning end? So I asked, can you add columns for start and end dates or end times? It added. I didn't have to type. I didn't have to develop anything. I just asked it to do that step. It would give you the additional columns, right? So again, this is the next step for Power Apps. So it's taking no-code to the next level. It's adding that conversational intelligence factor to it. So will it be replacing my developers? Definitely not. It gives you that jump start in creating your application, but at the same time, it doesn't. It still needs that extra touch from your developers, right? So again, we all have this idea that AI might be replacing employees in the future. It would definitely not. But we also have rules for responsible AI, and everything still needs that touch, which is not AI, right? So even for design, it would help you with the design or the layout of your application. So again, watch out for this one. It's going to be available as well for the 365 and security, and even for Power BI, right? You can ask for, give me a visualization for my sales performance in the Mindanao region, specifically for, telephones, right? Or for flat irons, right? So I don't know where flat iron came from, but it can give you that power in simplifying your day-to-day tasks, okay? So,
pwede lang ilapad ko yung mga placeholders.
I'll be skipping some of the slides because these are marketing slides. There. So, some of the scenarios to get started with, I've shared you some scenarios earlier with the Philippine Army and that government agency. So it really democratizes innovation. You're not limiting innovation anymore to your IT team. And at the same time, you're giving IT team more time to do more productive work, right? It allows you to rapidly build applications. Earlier, I just scanned the picture. It wasn't even a scan, it was just a picture of a whiteboard, right? And it gave me that shell already of an application that I can work with or start with. And then you can automate business processes. So again, if you want to do robotic process automation in the future without having to code, then you can go for that. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Jase, for that very powerful presentation and talk. Recap from our two speakers, right? So we talked about how no-code can help startups get a better go-to-market strategy. And second one would be Jase with Microsoft Power Tools. Like, how neat is it when you take a picture and then a few minutes later you have a working app, right? So, interestingly, Jase already mentioned AI. So, our next talk is about AI, the real AI. So, The next speaker will be a friend of mine and mentor for a couple of years now, and years, yeah. And so please welcome Rad Butalid.
Hey everyone, good afternoon. Could we have the people there move? Kasi may feedback kanina na umaalog yung screen because of the aircon. So for those who are wearing glasses, parang nahihigo kayo. I think it's much better if we could compress.
You can bring your chairs dun sa open space doon.
Sinisilip ko din kanina ang feedback ni Cardenas. Kala niya nahihilo lang siya yung talo umaalog. Because of the aircon.
It's okay.
Okay lang kayo dyan, sige Anto. May kape dyan. Ano ba natin? Hindi ko malayo. Dito na nakapakita. The guys over there, gusto nyo mag-compress? Wala naman social distancing. Gusto nyo mag-mask? Sure ka? So, everyone, thank you again for attending today's session. Thank you for spending your weekend or at least your Saturday afternoon with us. So I know most of you may have mga lakad that you do to attend this session, so we appreciate your presence today. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk about innovation intersection. So AI and Nocode. So anyone here is aware of AI? At least kahit in general. Ay mga nag-guess, sasabihin mo ano. Ito, una. Matiwa ni AI. May audience participation. Inaantok na lahat eh. Wait.
And obviously, no, artificial intelligence.
What's your take on AI?
Okay. Parang nag-escalate yung question. Pero,
Then you could choose another one eh.
kasi, Jay.
May ganun.
My take on AI actually, kasi may mindset kasi yung mga tao na kapag AI, magkakaroon ng mga robots, tapos iti-take over tayo.
Terminator.
Tapos, may mga mindset din na kapag may AI, maraming mawalan ng trabaho.
Yes, valid yun. That's a valid.
And then, syempre, my take is, AI kasi, hindi naman tayo mapapalitan ng AI actually. Mapapalitan tayo ng mga tao na marunong gumamit ng AI. So, that's my mindset. Kaya, ayoko yung, yung sabihin na papalitan tayo ng AI na robot or what. Pero yun yung
Fear
kasi ng mga tao.
So you could choose another one. Yan, you could volunteer.
Okay.
Siguro mga nakausap ko kanina.
Yan, use your network. Using your network.
Si ano na lang, si Mikael.
Sir, yan, nakasama ko na kanina. Sa networking, very interesting use case.
Kaya yung turo sa'yo, hindi kami
Good afternoon. I am Mikael. I'm a real estate broker and software engineer. So my take on AI is, in the prior stages of releases of AI, yung mga LLM, large language models from Facebook, from Microsoft, OpenAI, it's really scary, and it opens a lot of opportunities to replace as many people as they could. And for us to move forward, here in software industry is really to embrace AI and be at the forefront of it.
I like the mix of yung feeling scared, no? But at the same time, you're getting excited of the next wave of progress. So, dami nakapungan, pangating na daw sila. So, you choose the last one. Yung mga nakatungo yung
I'll pass the microphone to Ben.
Wala siyang boses daw. Nakamas.
Nakamas din naman ako nagsasalita.
Medyo raspy yung voice niya kanina. Maybe to sa other side. Turo mo.
Ito kay ate na lang. Yeah.
Mahalas daw yung nag-networking kanina. Voice.
Hi, I'm Lois. So, yung view ko with AI, have you seen a match ng dalawang chess AI? So, parang ganun siya. Imagine nyo kung lahat tayo mag-AI. Pare-parehas lang yung output. That's where human touch is important. Kasi we know yung, hindi pa rin naman nakaka-capture ng AI yung emotions and how to touch people. Not in a sexual.
Biglang bumulong.
Know how to touch the emotions of people. So, there's no parang fear,
Yes.
pero it's more of information. So, to fight, not really fight, pero to not be, parang kailangan nyo lang matutong mag-upskill. It's a new tool. So, don't think of it as kalaban na parang we are fighting. Hindi siya, parang siyang lowcode nga, na hindi din siya against programmers. Hindi siya parang magiging wala ng programmers in the world. So parang tool siya to make things faster, to make you generate ideas, and make you parang spark something in your brain to think of something new. Pero it's not gonna replace everyone. It's gonna replace some people siguro. Pero kailangan lang nila mag-upskill.
Yes.
It's not about, parang isipin nyo na lang din yung mga courses before ng cars. Siguro yung mga nagdadrive ng courses, natuto sila eventually mag-drive ng cars. So parang ganun lang siya.
May horse. Yung mga jeep na to, no?
Saraw pala.
Mga saraw pala.
Naging saraw na sila. Ayun lang.
So say thank you for sharing your sentiments, no? Kasi most of the feedback that we see, mapa-Reddit man, mapa-Facebook man, kahit saan, it's always AI is gonna replace us. We're gonna be losing our jobs. Paano nag-aaral ako, second year college pa lang ako, tapos biglang nandito na si AI. Ang daming ganong sentiments. And if you empathize on that statement, parang oo nga, no? Bakit dumating ngayon pa? Bakit kung kailan graduate na ako, kung kailan medyo established na ako, tapos biglang meron na namang competition. So, I'm gonna introduce myself real quick. So, I'm Artificial Intelligence and Cognitive Innovation leader sa IBM APAC in ASEAN. Also, very active in the PH Tech community. So some of you may have seen me or know me. Agile PH, Nocode PH, DevCon, SoftCon. I'm almost always there, save for the pandemic. So, ito yung sinasabi natin. AI and no-code is the future. Pero development experience not required. Daming natakot ng time na yun. Kasi AI is there. Andiyan na si Copilot, andiyan na yung RPAs, andiyan na yung mga LLMs. Ano nang gagawin namin? If I'm gonna input sa LLM na I need to do a Python code that would do this, it will generate it in 3 to 5 seconds. Versus ako na developer for 10 years, it will take me, 30 minutes. Talo ako. So what's gonna happen to my market? Surprisingly, 30.2% increase this year alone ng CAD-P, projected growth. We didn't expect that. 30.2, it's not 5, it's not 10, it's not 20, it's 30.2. And by 2025, 2 years from now, compared to 2 years ago, we're seeing 80% increase ng user base compared to 2021, which is just 60%. Kailan lang nalaman si LLM sa inyo? This year? Last year? Sino nakagamit ng GPT-2? Show of hands, wala. GPT-3. And kailan lang? This year? Diba? And it has been growing, not just sa US. not just in the ASEAN region, even sa Philippines. Hindi lang tayo masyadong nakaka-capture ng market nila Gartner, hindi tayo nakaka-capture nila CB Insights kasi third world daw tayo. Pero there's a lot of developers here who are very versed and skilled in AI. So, popularity of low-code and no-code. The integration of AI, we are seeing this. So if you're seeing yung traditional AI process, so we got the data prep, we got the engineering, the pre-processing, ang haba. If you are a data scientist, if you are someone who works with data, ang layo, ang dami. Yung feedback ng CRISPR, grabe, sobrang ikot-ikot na. Versus no-code, how many steps do we see? I see data collection, drag and drop, results, workflow. I'm seeing business integration, business results right away in 4 steps. Versus 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Low-code and no-code AI landscape. So, ang dami na as per CB Insights. As of 2023, and it is growing. Hindi ito up-to-date. Ang daming nadagdag when I was doing this, at least mga 5 or 6 tools I saw popping up on my feed na wala pa dito, na hindi pa nakaka-capture. So we're seeing growth, we're seeing development, tsaka availability. So you have these 3 use cases that were covered kanina. No? Computer vision, ito yung nakita nyo kanina ginawa ni Sir Jase, na when you upload a picture or a prototype, paper prototype, your system would recognize that and then create it right away. NLP, Natural Language Processing. So if you are working with contracts, sino dito nasa sales? Anyone in sales? Sales? Sino? Si Jase. Wala si Jase. So anyone working in sales, I have sales background. We process at least 2 million sales contracts every week. And we have to do it manually. Ngayon with NLP, babasahin na lang. It would understand meron bang mali sa contracts, meron bang hindi napirmahan, meron bang mga dates that were incorrect, meron bang mga past due. And it would save your business and your clients money. Same goes with workflow automation, RPA. Anyone here is familiar with RPA? Robotics Process Automation. Would you like to share? Kasi ko kung masasabi. Siya yung given.
Upo na lang. Robotics, parang yun yung sinabi kanina ni Sir Jase. Na parang kiklik-click mo na lang kung anong gagawin. So steps na siya.
Yes.
That is, parang dun yung may robots na susundin niya na yung kung ano. Pero, ayun, pwede rin siya in, I think, i-apply sa website na parang mag-click-click.
Yes.
Ayun.
So workflow automation, imagine a person logging in, a person needs to do something in accounting, a person needs to do something in procurement, something in sales. Why would you need to do that manually if you could automate that? Why would I need to click a button if I could do that automatically? So naka-schedule na. And AI would recognize that. So you have integrations. Hindi ka naman LLM lang ako, RPA lang ako, computer vision lang ako. All of these are integrated. And we're seeing the tools right here. So use case number 1, computer vision. Ito. 3 use cases, product identification.
The Antler Singapore program, what most people didn't know is I was working up late until everyone leaves the office. Not because I'm so hardworking, but because I don't want these people to see that I'm actually sleeping in the office. So you need to do something to survive. I actually borrowed some money from my wife so that I could stay there for 30 days. I raised the money for Jungle the last 3 days of my stay in Singapore. So you really have to do a lot of things and, you know, share this story with VCs and they will see who you are as a person. So that is also one big factor why VCs or angels invest in a founder. Shit, man.
Sisingilin na natin si Lois. Kami niyang tanong.
Yeah, I just want to promote, I'm not sure if there's like VCs here, or if you know any VCs or angel investors. Yes, sir, Francis. Yeah. So in September 6th, we're going to have the Founders Launchpad Demo Day, and SAFE is raising $1 million for 10% of the company. That would be our, not sure if that's seed or pre-seed. But yeah, if you know anyone who wants to join me in this journey, and just, it's there's no minimum, it's up to you, but it's like it's 1 million for the whole 10%. And yeah, I mean, if you want to join me in this war against scam, we're the first one to do it, and I think the only still. So yeah, it will be in BGC. There's like 5 other great startups working in different problems as well, like solving garbage problems, inventory problems. There's a lot. So yeah, if you guys want to come and see Safe and other startup founders there, feel free to join. September 6th. Tentative time is date is September 6th. Sorry.
Alright. Thank you for inviting us to Founders Launchpad, Al. And I hope you get or you're able to achieve what you're what you're meant to do there. So it's actually 5 p.m. on the dot, and I'm gonna pass it over to Crystal for a few more words before we end the day.
Hi, short lang to, promise, less than 10 slides. I know we're all ano na, so yeah. Yeah, so I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Crystal, and the reason why I started Nocode PH was I have so much love and passion for Nocode na parang sabi ko parang not many friends even knew what Nocode was. Or we're like parang, so you can make a website in a day. So parang, hindi sila ganun ka-interested. Like, I want to meet friends who are also doing Nocode. So, yeah, and I actually do Nocode for a living. So we make Nocode apps and websites. So if you need them, plug na rin. Yeah, but I'm gonna wear my Nocode PH hat lang. And so what did this mini conference set out to do? So if you read in our website, this is what we wanted to happen. No? So we wanted you to learn how Nocode empowers non-technical professionals and how it can be used to break down barriers. And we really hope that we achieve that today. So what did we learn today? Just a recap, no? Para lang, alam ko fresh from in your minds, pero para lang talagang ma-hone down, talagang hindi nyo makakalimutan. Pag umalis kayo dito, tanongin, ano ginawa mo nung Saturday afternoon? Sabihin mo, I learned that Nocode, number 1, enabled a technical founder, like non-technical founder like Al, to build and iterate their MVP and raise millions of pounds without having a technical co-founder. So, marami pang insights no, from his talk, especially since ako personal takeaway ko was, Nocode can be used to break down barriers, but also, if your idea sucks in the first place, alam mo yun, and if you're not gonna do customer research, if you're not actually gonna do things that, make a successful business, yun nga, let they keep repeating Nocode won't help you. So that was my personal takeaway. So I'm personally inspired by his story, kasi parang, wow, ganun pala, he raised millions of money just with Nocode. Not just, but like with Nocode. And then second takeaway, this one is for Jase. So I'll talk more about startups, but Jase talk more about for enterprise. So Nocode is also for enterprise. So meron kasing thinking na Nocode is just for startups. No, it's not. It's also for enterprise. So you can build secure and scalable applications fast, derive meaningful insights from all of your data, and automate processes with ease. So ako yung personal takeaway ko was, pipicturean mo lang, boom, pwede na pala mag-Nocode app. So hindi ko alam yun. So parang medyo napawawa ka doon. And then lastly, but of course not the least, is from Rad. In that Nocode AI lowers the barrier of entry to AI accessibility while enabling democratization of software development through the use of low-code and no-code. So AI is trending right now. It can be even said na AI na naman. Kasi AI is like super trending right now. But what I like from his talk personally, yung takeaway ko was, AI is not meant to replace you, it's meant to augment you. And with the power of no-code and AI both together, we can accomplish great things. So, what do we hope you gain today? So,
aside from the expert insights on lowcode that I talked to you about, and again, those 3 things, I hope na pag may nagtanong sa inyo, anong ginawa niyo sa lowcode PH mini conference, masasabi mo yung 3 yun. May quiz tayo mamaya. Pero, sana masasabi niyo na talagang yun yung natutunan ko. And then, ito, inspiration to do or continue doing lowcode. So if you haven't done lowcode yet, I hope you are inspired na parang, try kaya ako mag-no-code. So, that is the very reason why we exist. But also to empower people who are already using no-code. So, we hope na parang na-inspire kayo, parang wow, kaya pala ito ng no-code. And hopefully, that's what you gain today. And of course, last but not the least, is new no-coder friends. So, like I mentioned, medyo kasi mahirap kasi na parang, alam ko yung no-code, pero wala akong kausap na parang, nga na nakabuild ka ng app na ganyan. Parang gano'n. So parang, I hope na no-code page is able to facilitate these kinds of conversations or help you network and find like-minded people. So I hope that's what you gained today. And if you did not achieve those 3 things, I hope you helped us by letting us know how we did. So we're open to feedback. So not just in the feedback wall, but this time it's going to be an anonymous survey sent to your email. So hopefully you give us insight kasi we cannot continue doing what we do if we do not improve. So I hope na kung hindi ka nasarapan sa food, although sana naman nasarapan kayo sa food, sana you let us know para we can improve then as a non-profit. And just wanted to invite you also to what's next. So these are our 4 upcoming events for the next few months. So Lean Coffee, we're gonna have it on Discord server. So we're gonna have that. And then anniversary party is just a virtual party where we come together and have fun. So we're gonna have a speed building challenge if that's it's something you're interested in. So speed building challenge where you build an no-code app in an hour or less. And whoever the judges think is the best no-code app or website within that 1 hour, given the requirements, will win. So hopefully join us for that. It's just gonna be virtual. And then we're gonna join the Davao Startup Week for September also. So we're gonna be there. Yeah, I know malayo yung Davao from here, but if ever you're in the area, we'd love to see you there. And of course, Flutterflow workshop. So Flutterflow will hold a workshop. So it's an official workshop, and the best part is I can safely say that you will have swag. So they promised Flutterflow swag. So if you want to go, please attend. It's going to be an in-person event, again here somewhere in Metro Manila this October. So I hope that I'll see the same faces there. So I'll mention Flutterflow already, but Flutterflow, is it my favorite no-code tool right now? Parang it is. Kasi ang saya niya. So, hindi ako binabayaran ng Flutterflow for this, pero masaya yung Flutterflow. So, I hope na we're able to see you in person again in that event. And yeah, so I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who came here. Kanina it was raining, I was so scared, napupunta, ganun. Pero parang you made it and you spent 4 hours on a Saturday here with us. So, we all have personal lives, we all have things outside, but you still made it here. So thank you for supporting our event. I'm so thankful. Of course, I'm thankful to our speakers and what we learned from them. It's not a joke, to come up with slides and come up with a speech and to talk in front of a large group of people. So I'd like to thank them. I'd also like to thank our volunteers, Ishan, who manned the registration booth. I'd like to thank of course, last but not the least, of course, is Microsoft. So, in this, we're just a non-profit, we cannot afford, literally. We cannot afford any venue, but they were happy to provide us a venue, so I'm very grateful to Microsoft. And of course, I'd like to thank Gra for hosting, Pauline for documenting, Dayon for helping out with the timekeeping, and of course Jase also for not just giving a talk but for helping us coordinate the venue. So yeah, thank you so much. I hope talaga na you enjoyed today, and I hope to see you in our next events. Thank you!